The Dice Tower is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. This episode is sponsored by the Op, also known as USAopoly.
The Dice Tower, episode 680, Syracuse.
Welcome to The Dice Tower, a podcast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them.
In today's show, on top of games we've been playing, we've got a couple of apps, and we're serving up a party game pie. Party on! I'm Suzanne Sheldon.
Party time.
No, I'm sorry.
Excellent. I'm Mandi Hutchinson.
I'm so sorry. Well, I wanted to do like a party on Wayne and Garth thing, but then I realized you might not get that.
Oh no, I totally got it.
Weird.
I was like, wait, I had to think about it, so I had to run through the song. Wayne's World, party time, excellent.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was...
No, I was with you. I just had to run. That was actually one of my favorite movies. I just had to run through the song in my head.
Well, it's been a while since that movie came out. And we're off to a rolling start, folks, which will be interesting because we're off to a rolling start in general with the recording because both Mandi and I are experiencing some inclement weather.
Yep.
And internet and power outages and things like that. So good luck, Mandi. I hope we can do it. We can do this. I believe in us.
Yes, me too.
And Mandi, I think that the internet outage for you kind of impacted your aw shucks. Now, I saw our friends over at Shut Up and Sit Down host a really great event all weekend, and you were part of it.
Yes.
Kinda.
Yeah. So I was there for two events, actually. So the first event went swimmingly well, no issues at all. We ended up playing a game called Hundreds of Horses.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So you're all probably thinking, what game is this? I've never heard of this game. Well, Suzanne has heard of it because I remember at Essen, I think you were bringing it back for someone, if I'm not mistaken.
I basically served as a courier because our friend, Pierre, who's a game designer, couldn't get it in Germany and really wanted it for his kiddos and asked if I could bring over a copy. So yeah, no problem. I have to admit, I haven't played it. The cover looks like the cover of a book geared towards 10-year-old girls who really like horses.
Yes. It does definitely come across like that when you see it. So I briefly remember seeing your cover, and it's funny, when they asked me to play this game, I didn't think anything of it. And as they're describing it to me, I'm like, wait, why does this sound so familiar? And it is literally a game about... there's a die that gets rolled, and depending on what the die face says, you're either taking a horse or you're trying to guess what, you pick a horse in your mind based on a story that was kind of told, which is like a sentence or two, and what horse best describes the story. And then everybody else, it's all secret, has to say, which one would Mandi pick that would best describe the story? That's an example of one of the die rolls that might happen. And if you are correct or people match with their answers, you end up getting tokens that have apples on the other side. But you don't know how many apples you're getting until at the end you flip them all over and see, oh, we got the most apples. Now, it sounds insanely ridiculous, but I have to tell you, it's a lot of fun. And I was surprised. This was actually a game published by Ravensburger, and I think it was probably designed through Prospero Hall. And I was like, really? I had no idea. It went over very well. The stream was entertained. We were entertained. I would play this again.
And that holds up to other things I've heard about it, that it's just a very gentle, very sweet game that if you can shed cynicism, you can really enjoy. And hey, let's face it, Prospero Hall has a pretty strong track record. This is the same design group behind games like Villainous.
Right.
So, that's awesome. I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah, it was good. So I definitely think it's something, I don't know, maybe we'll play it. Maybe they'll ask me again to play it. It definitely went over better than my, what was the game we played? Floor Plan. Yeah, I had a terrible score, but I think we were just chatting and, shooting the breeze. So don't ignore my score in that game, but I did make very, very nice house. So yeah, that was fun.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm assuming that those are going to be up on Shut Up and Sit Down's YouTube channel for everybody to watch later if they want to catch up on that.
We did film them on Twitch, so...
I'm sure they'll download them.
Yeah, let's hope so. But either way,
Twitch channel then.
Twitch, YouTube, I'm sure you'll find it somewhere.
And I know that also the week before, since our last episode, there was RenCon, which is the Renegade convention, virtual convention. And then Spielworks publisher also had a virtual convention they called Conworks. And Mandi, I know you're involved with RenCon because you've got the people at Renegade are huge fans of yours. And I think it would be a really interesting discussion. I'd love to do a Victory Points next episode on virtual conventions. Now that we've got a number of them under our belts in kind of this age of quarantine, and you all out there have had more opportunities to attend and experience and participate in these virtual conventions. How are you liking them? What's working for you? What's not? What's appealing? What's less appealing? I'd love to hear from you all because I have a very narrow range of experiences with this stuff. And Mandi, you've been a little deeper with them than I have been, but I'd really love to get a check from our Dice Tower family on what's going on with them in these virtual conventions. But I'm assuming that now, is any of the stuff that you did with RenCon Live still available on YouTube or anything? Or is that all kind of in the Twitch ether?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it was done live on Twitch, but then they uploaded everything. So the panels that I was doing or some of the hosting shows were uploaded to YouTube the following week. So I believe they should be all available on their YouTube channel, Renegade Games.
Awesome. So how's that sound, Mandi? Should we do a Victory Points about virtual conventions next episode?
Yeah, I'd be really curious to see, how people are liking them, if they're liking them, if they've heard of them. Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what the listeners, what they think about it.
Folks, stay tuned. We always put a thread up on the Dice Towers Board Game Geek Guild titled Victory Points in the episode and stuff like that. So keep your eyes out for that thread popping up. I'd really love to hear from you. Until then, we've got some games that we've been playing, so let's get to the good stuff, Mandi.
Agreed.
So, what have you been playing lately?
All right. Well, here's the usual speech. It's been hard with the, quarantining and all that good stuff and playing games. Well, I did play some games. We played a couple new ones coming out, but I want to play them a little bit more with Suzanne and Ashley and some other people to see how we feel about it. But in the meantime, I've been working with Asmodee, doing some chats and some interviews based on gamification of learning, so education using games in the classroom and by other means. So there's a couple that were sent to me to try, and ones that I can talk about. And one to start off this list, and if you didn't know where I was going, it's going to be an educational list today, I'm sorry. The first one is Monza. So I don't know, have you played this one, Suzanne?
Oh, so much Monza has been played in my household. So much.
Okay, I've never played it, so this is a new one for me and maybe for some others. So Monza is designed by Jürgen P. Grunau. The art is by Harald Clavinius, and it's published by Haba. So this is one I actually didn't know about, and it's really straightforward. So as I mentioned before, it is geared towards family or children, and it's a car race game. And in the game, you're rolling dice on your turn, and these dice have colors on them. So the colors on the dice match the spaces on the board, because in the game, you have a car that you're going to be, controlling, and then there's a small track, and each part of the track has a color. And every time you roll dice, I don't remember the exact number, but there's a few dice that you're rolling, and you're trying to make your way around the track using the dice that you rolled. Sometimes you roll great ones, and you can move like 5 or 6 spaces. Sometimes, like what happened to me quite a bit, you roll and, only maybe a couple numbers or a couple colors that you can move. That's just the way it is with dice, right? And obviously the player who finishes first wins the game. It's very straightforward. So for those who are in education, and maybe this is one you've used before, sorry, I'm a bit newer to this one, Monza is one of those games that definitely tries to encourage tactical thinking as well as color recognition. And this can be obviously difficult for some people, so I don't know this is necessarily always going to be the best option, but for people who are working with color, this might be something that they could look at. Tactical thinking, I'm a tactical thinker, although it is hard with dice because, right, what you roll is what you roll, and that's it. So it's not like you can kind of do something and then go, okay, how am I going to change my strategy? That's the kind of part of the game which I have an issue with, is the frustration of the dice. And
sure.
It's a dice game. That's something you're going to run into, but at least you know that. Now with children, and this is where, Suzanne, you might have a bit more insight than me, I could see that being frustrating for children. I mean, adults would get frustrated, but you know what I mean? In a game where you're rolling the dice and you're trying to move and someone's just flying across the board because they're getting all the right things, and children might, well, why am I not having that? Why is that not working for me? And I don't know if you ran into that issue at all when you were playing with your kids.
It's interesting, and it coming from the perspective of my kids were literally just playing Chutes and Ladders the other day. Like, no game could be more luck-based entirely, just completely throw caution to the wind, no skill at all game. And thinking about kind of how my kids went to that game, in spite of all of the wonderful games that we have in our house, there is a balance, I think, especially for younger children, between the ease of play and the luck. And depending on the age and how the child thinks, they aren't even going to necessarily associate their frustration with their lack of ability to control their options through the die. What I can tell you is my kids love Monza.
Which is great.
We have played so much Monza, and I think that when you're talking about tactical decisions and tactical choices based on dice, especially at the young age that you can introduce a child to Monza, it's perfect, right? It's perfect because, well, wait a minute, you have a green and a red. Well, which one do you want to go? And then they have to think, well, if I go to that green, oh, look, there's a yellow. But if I go to the red, there's no yellow. So I want to go to the green first, then the yellow. So it is that tactical thinking. It is that it simplifies it so much so that the child can focus on different planning and a different thought process without adding too much extra stuff for them to consider, that I think really works. That said, I will also tell you, if you go into Board Game Geek, there's like a vibrant Monza community. This is a game well loved.
Wow.
And people have come up with alternate tracks and alternate rules and all sorts of good stuff for it too. So Monza is great out of the box for family games, but people love this game so much they've gone in hard on it.
I could see, and listen, at the end of the day, I liked it. So maybe that wasn't clear from the beginning. I definitely liked it. As a teacher, there are certain types of children I would not play a game like this with, but it's not just specifically Monza. Do you know what I mean? This type of game. Any game where we were coming back to that whole, you know, if a kid feels like, you know, oh, I'm not moving, but everyone else is moving. There are certain types of students that wouldn't work for. The frustration would set in. And I guess that's where my mind was going, because I used to work with children who kind of fell into that. But as an overall, you're absolutely, for all the points you said, that totally makes sense. The whole tactical thinking. Monza's great. I was really glad that they recommended this one to me, and I definitely think that my nephew would really, really enjoy this one. And now I'm really curious to go and try out these advanced tracks online and variable tracks just to see. So there you go.
I have always enjoyed solo games, and some people enjoy playing board games solo and some people don't. Some people play board games against themselves and just play the opponent role, and then I really enjoy games that are made for solo play. So games like Onirim and Castellian and things like that. I actually recently posted on social media a photo of my little solo game area and asked if there were any I was missing, and I got some great recommendations, including for a game called Spire's End. This is designed by Greg Favreau. The art is by Benjamin Wiseman, and it's self-published. So this is a Kickstarter that I did not kickstart, and it was $30 on the Kickstarter. This is a solo branching narrative game. Tons of cards, a bunch of cubes, and a few dice is what's in the box. And these cards are huge. They're bigger than tarot. They're gigantic. Oh, wow. They're so large. And the art is really, really great. It's got this line art style, and it's all black, white with like pops of red. So it's very dramatic. And it's kind of an epic fantasy quest where you're conquering this spire, the Spire's End. Basically, you get 7 allies to try to conquer the game or get to an ending, really. You go through this deck. The deck is in order. The cards are numbered. And you enter the spire and you just flip over the cards, and then you follow the storyline. But eventually, you're going to have a combat. Then eventually, you're going to make a choice later on. Oh, like there was this won't be a spoiler. There was a card that said, okay, you enter the room and you can either follow the path that has the slime trail, or you can follow the path that doesn't have a slime trail. Where do you go? Okay, well, you pick your path and you follow the narrative from there. Eventually, you're going to hit an ending. As far as I can tell, most of the endings are bad.
Oh, no.
For me, because I'm apparently very bad at this game. But that's okay because it's interesting. What happens is for battle or for combat, your ally cards, when you look at these cards, actually, when I first opened it, it was a little intimidating because every ally card has all these red stripes on it with a bunch of numbers on them.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with the enemies that you fight. A bunch of red and black stripes on them. You're going, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Well, really, it's not that bad because each of those stripes represent an action. And if you pick the action that's on the number 2 stripe, great. You pay the cost to do that action. And then the numbers are the die rolls. So it's like, oh, if you roll a 3 to 6, you do 1 damage. If you roll a 7, you do 2 damage. If you roll an 8, you do 3 damage and a power boost or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And it's just all presented. Once you know the structure of these stripes, it's easy breezy. No problem. Right. You get in there, you got a couple of allies, you're flipping through cards, you're rolling dice, you're tracking hit points, you're making decisions. The story's interesting. The art is great. I love it. I am sorry I didn't Kickstart it. I'm really glad I managed to grab a copy afterwards because this is a delightful game to play solo. Mm-hmm. I will say the setup is pretty easy as long as when you pack it up, you put the cards back in order. Right. Jumping into a game, I just throw all the cubes into a little, cup, pull out the dice, lay out a couple of ally cards, start flipping cards.
Right.
I love that it's easy. I love solo games that are easy to set up and get into. Because sometimes you don't want to take a lot of setup time. Sometimes you only have an hour to play a game. Mm-hmm. And I will say that in spite of those character cards and enemy cards looking a little intimidating at first, the game is quite easy to learn. The rules are all printed on cards. And if you just kind of give it a good 10 minutes and read through it, it all makes sense. There are a couple of questions that are answered on a FAQ on their website. It's an enjoyable solo game. And I will say, I think it would be a great 2-player cooperative game, too. As a solo player, you play 2 allies, and you just go between them. Well, if you throw in another player, each of you can play one of the allies, and then when the enemy attacks, whichever ally is defending, the other person could roll for the enemy. And I actually think that would almost, depending on the person, could be better than the solo experience. If you're a solo gamer and you like branching narrative stories that seem to have a lot of endings. I mean, I have not gone through this. I've played it 4 times now, and I've seen 4 different endings. So, I don't know, and none of them were that great. So, I really it's kind of like Choose Your Own Adventure, but it feels richer. The choices are richer. There is a luck element, but there are ways to mitigate it in a solid way. So, Spire's End, a real winner. I really, really like this one.
Is this one that you think we'll be able to see online? Do you think maybe this is one you might show everybody? That'd be fun.
I would, if people want to see it, yeah, that might be a fun one because it'd be really easy just to throw a camera down over a table.
Yeah.
Good suggestion, Mandy. Thanks.
I know. I wonder where I got that idea from. No, it sounds good. I'm not a solo player, but I have been dabbling here and there because of the situation we're in now. So this is one, if you're playing it, I'd love to see it, and then maybe it might be one that might catch my interest. So this is very exciting.
For sure.
So before I jump into the next game, because I'm on this whole educational streak thing here, I wanted to tell everybody that I played, finally, it took me so long to finally play some Unmatched, those Unmatched games from Restoration. So I've been able to play Alice from Alice in Wonderland in 1. And what's that one from, Suzanne? That's
Battle of Legends Volume 1.
Battle of Legends Volume 1. And then I played, is it Cobble and Fog? Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes, I played that with my friend Ashley, and she was Sherlock Holmes, I think it was, in Watson, and I was Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde for that one. And so we're 1-1. She's won 1, I've won 1. I have to tell you, though, note to everybody, don't get stuck without any defensive cards, because that's literally how I lost. I was so mad, I would have had it in the bag. Okay, I'm not bitter. Anyway, long story short, I didn't think, I've played these types of games before, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
You're a little picky about them.
Right, and then I was like, this is so fun. I want to play them all. So it's like every time one, because then I'm like, oh, let's play this. Actually, want to try this one? Oh, let's try this character. And that's really something, when you can get excited about something you thought was just okay. So I'm not going to get into too much details. The next podcast, I will definitely be talking about the ones that we've played. But I know some people had wanted to know a little bit about Cobble and Fog. I really liked it, and I really enjoyed the character that I played. But I seem to have a thing with playing characters that allow you to change. Like Alice.
Right, 'cause Alice does the same thing.
Right, going from big to small, and then Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde goes between the two, personalities or characters.
Right.
So I seem to really like that aspect, and maybe that's because that's me in real life, 1 minute it's like this, 1 minute it's like this, and, you can kind of get a bit of every character. So I really like that. So long story short, it's really good. I will talk about that on our next podcast. So there's that before I forget. Now, on to the actual game that I'll be talking about today, Timeline Canada. So I am, as a teacher, this is embarrassing.
I love Timeline. Oh, this is great.
I've never played it. This was the first time I played it. I know. And I'm sure I played a variation of, probably one that I made up, because I swear I did something very similar, but not the official game. So I was happy to start with Timeline Canada. Yay! And this is designed by Frédéric Henry. And there's no artist listed, but it is published by Asmodee. So this is a really straightforward game. The one I have comes in a small tin. I'm not sure if they actually come bigger than that, but the one I have came in a tin with some very small cards. Think like, what's that game? Takenoko? Like that size card.
Oh, the mini cards.
Yeah, that size. So in the game, you're trying to basically ensure that you have an accurate timeline. So there's a deck that gets placed out, you flip the card, and it'll have a date on it. When you're placing cards, you have them actually face down, so you don't know what the date is on the back of your cards, and you want to place cards out on your turn, a card on your turn, next to cards that are already out, either, to the right or left of a card. And you want it to be in sequence to the dated card that's out already. Once you place it, then you flip it over to see if it is in correct sequence. So you want to go in ascending order of year. And if not, boo earns, that card's not good, but you have to draw a card into your hand, and then it goes to the next player's turn. To win the game, you need to have no cards in your hand. So ideally, you want to be right on every turn to get all the cards out. And that's literally how the game is played. I like trivia games. I mean, I play Jeopardy every night. So I like any type of trivia game, something like this that tests your skills with history. Even though it's not precise, I like the fact that you can still have a general knowledge and be like, oh, this is great. I still feel confident that it's around this time, and you can still enjoy that, versus saying, oh, sorry, didn't get like Jeopardy. You didn't get the right exact answer. You were wrong. So this can encourage people to be happy about what they have learned and applied it, or learning in general about things maybe you didn't know about. So I really liked that part of it. I did not like the small size cards, I'm going to be honest with you. I know it's supposed to be like a travel size, I guess.
Yeah.
Portability, but it's too small. Especially when you want to try and get lots of facts. And I like reading about that sort of thing. And I find they either have to limit it or it's just so little. So I wish it was just I wish it were bigger. So that was my little complaint about it. But I mean, the travel aspect is nice. Also, I find that the information, some of it is a bit odd. And maybe it's just the Canada version, because I haven't played any other versions, but I think we had a card that came out, and I love how Suzanne, the American in the group, there were two of us, myself, my friend Ashley was Canadian as well, and Suzanne, and a card came out, something about Blame Canada. And we were both like, what is this? I have no idea what this is. And Suzanne's like, South Park, hello. We're both like, oh, it didn't even enter our minds.
Right.
So I just wondered the relevance of some of the Canadian facts that were in there, And I've heard from other people that this wasn't necessarily the best version. They feel like there could have been more cards, more information. I mean, I'm sure that can be with anything. So I'm looking forward to trying other versions of the game because I like the overall feeling of the game. So Timeline Canada was a win for me. I'm looking forward to trying some of the other ones. I think this one would be great for language. If you want to kind of learn facts, in a different language, like for me. So I like to practice. I say I like to practice my French, which I do, but I also have to practice my French for work. So I like to play games like this and then kind of recite about the history in French as we're playing. So games like this, even the one before, like Monza, kind of reminded me of Milborn. Same sort of thing. So another way to kind of get your language practice. So I thought that was really fun. So Timeline Canada, wasn't crazy about the card size, but I really enjoyed the game. So good job on that one.
I love the Timeline series, and it's really fun when at least you used to be able to do this. I'm not sure about the card size you're talking about, but mixing sets makes it really interesting because you start to go, oh, wait, the first light bulb came after the first game of football.
Right.
What? that kind of stuff. You get really interesting mixes and you learn.
I love it.
That's cool. Alrighty, to wrap up the games played chit-chat, I'm going to talk about a beautiful little game called Dreams of Tomorrow.
Ooh.
Designed by Philip Falcon Perry, which, hello, awesome name.
Mm-hmm.
And the art, which, take note of this name, James Messino, and it's published by Weird Giraffe Games. This is an all-card-based rondel game.
Oh, nice.
So you've got tarot-sized cards. So you've got these pretty chunky cards. And most of them have a really beautiful piece of art. I'm not sure how many unique pieces of art, but basically you're playing dream weavers. And you are assembling dreams. And these cards represent different dream fragments that you're trying to bring together into a final dream. So the art is appropriate. There's so many colors and it's surreal in sometimes. Like one of my favorite pieces is this image of an aircraft carrier in a desert. And everything is yellow and golden and it's just so weird and surreal. But then you've got like art of like wolves howling at the moon. And then you've got, the silhouette of a person standing in this bright white doorway with a night sky around it. And all the card art is just super duper cool. And just when you think about the theme, it just meets that theme very nicely. Now, you also get a set of cards that create what is essentially an action rondel. They have a top half and a bottom half, and you line them up in a row. So you're going to imagine you have 4 action spots at the top and 4 action spots at the bottom. And then you're going to have a meeple that moves around them. So even though they're in a straight row, you kind of have to imagine that it's like a loop all the way through the cards. You're going to move around them. And these actions are going to help you get resources or get dream cards or weave a dream, which is kind of playing it out into a lineup. When you get cards, you're just going to stack them up and then you have to pay the resources to get the cards. And then when you weave them, you're going to take cards that you have and put them into your dream lineup. There are little icons on the cards that you get bonus points if they match the card previous to it. They all have special actions on them, but as you add cards to your woven dream, they cover up the previous action, so you only have access to the most recent action that you played. It's a really interesting game because the twist is the rondel can change because there are actions that will let you flip or move the cards in that action rondel lineup. And I think how much you like this game is going to hinge on how you feel about that. On paper, it sounds super duper interesting. In practice, it can feel frustrating.
Oh, okay.
Because I think it's going to be, if you like that idea and you are a tactical player, you're going to like this game. If you are a highly strategic player that doesn't want any randomness like that, then you're going to find it frustrating because you're going to be planning your next turn and then the rondel is going to change.
Right.
And then you have to adjust. If you're a tactical player, then it's just about maximizing the puzzle that's put in front of you in the moment, and that is interesting. So my first game of Dreams of Tomorrow, I remember it being a little like, oh no, wait, all my plans have gone asunder. But then knowing what I was getting into in my future plays, it smoothed out a lot for me. And I just kind of accepted that it was a tactical game with this interesting flipping action rondel with gorgeous art and a really cool theme that you could throw down and set up and play very quickly and very easily. And it's economical in a nice compact box. So a lot of game in a small box, beautiful art, interesting tactical play. Dreams of Tomorrow.
This is one that's been on my shelf. I've been looking forward to playing it. Obviously, it might be a little bit more difficult now. Is this one I could play virtually?
Yeah, you and I could play this. Yes, we could.
Ooh.
We could do it. If you had your own in front of you, it'd be quite easy. We could do this.
Fantastic. Okay, see, there you go. Easy peasy. All right, this is exciting.
I'll teach you.
Okay. Yay!
But we have been playing. I mean, we've said it in earlier episodes. You and I have gotten to play more games together since we were locked down in quarantine.
It's so true. It's so true.
any other time in our friendship. Something about necessity is the mother of invention, right? And we've been playing app games, of course, together for a while. Mm-hmm. And you're going to tell us about one of those next.
Yes. Brought to you by the Op Games, also known as USAopoly. Today's featured games are horror-themed. Horror. The Op Games is a favorite manufacturer for horror this month. Check out theop.games. Friday the 13th, horror at Camp Crystal Lake. Summertime fun is dying out at Camp Crystal Lake, where masked and murderous Jason Voorhees is on the hunt for camp counselor blood, and your unlucky day is looming. This is for 17 plus, 3 to 6 players, and plays in about 60 minutes. Next up is Horror Ultimate Trivial Pursuit. There's no turning back from Trivial Pursuit Horror Ultimate Edition. Explore the darkest corners of pop culture in this fact-based challenge, where survival skills are a must to answer 1,800 blood-curdling questions from across all horror genres. For ages 17 and up, 2 or more players, and 60 minutes to play. Finally, we have Scooby-Doo Chronicles. Step into the role of Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Inc. gang as you work to solve the mystery in Scooby-Doo Escape from the Haunted Mansion. This is for 12 and up, 1 or more players, and it plays in about 12 or more minutes.
And now let's look at the digital side of board gaming with Tap That App.
I was just telling Suzanne off air about this. I was a little sad. I was going to talk about Tainted Grail for my app choice today. However, it has come to my attention that I purchased and played Tainted Grail, the video game, not Tainted Grail, the board game app implementation. I don't know if such a thing exists. I was told it did, but long story short, I'm playing the video game. So I've decided, now that I've invested some time into this game on Steam, I will be talking about this during our next app session. So just throwing it out there just in case someone comes back, don't at me, and is like, oh, it's not a board game. Well, technically it is. I just bought the wrong one, and well, you're going to hear about it anyway. So that'll be next episode. But this episode, I will be talking about an app that is actually a board game, or a card game, I guess in this case. Similo is the app that I'll be talking about. And for those who are like, wait a second, didn't you talk about this? Well, we did a little playthrough on the Dice Tower, and well, if you want a good laugh, watch the first 20 minutes. That'll tell you how you don't play the game. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So you can check it out there if you want to see more of the play. Similo is available on Google, Android, Steam, and iOS. And it was designed by Horrible Guild, is the studio. It's 99 cents plus expansions for iOS and Android, and it's approximately $3 for the base game in Steam. So this is a cooperative deduction game. All right, let's start off with that. But the art is so cute. And there's a new one out, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And your goal is to make other players guess one secret character out of the 12 characters on display in the middle of the table, or in this case, middle of the display, by playing other character cards from your hand as clues, stating whether they are similar or different from the secret character. Then after each turn, other players must remove 1 or more characters from, the grouping that's available until only the right one remains, and you win, or you accidentally remove it and you lose, which can definitely happen easily in this game. So this game, I believe it has a local pass and play mode for 2 to infinite players, which unfortunately in our case we weren't able to do. We ended up having to play it online, but it only plays 2 players when you play that way, if I'm not mistaken. Suzanne, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, inherently in the app, it only currently accommodates 2 players, depending on how you're playing against each other.
Right.
You could rig it so that you can do it 1 versus many. Not versus. It's a cooperative game, right?
Right.
2 player only online.
Right, exactly. So this game, it plays really well, as we just mentioned, virtually online. Even though we have the one-to-one, you can still play it with people online to kind of join in. That's kind of how we played it. The art in this game is so cute and it's so vibrant, and I do find that is definitely comes out when you play the game. So I definitely think on the screen, even when we were playing it in Steam, the art definitely shines through, the theme shines, and I really like that, and I thought it was very easy to read. Sometimes getting into these apps I find a little tricky. This one was no exception. I feel like we did have a little bit of a doozy getting into it, but it could have also been the way that we were trying to play, and again, this was through Steam. So,
right.
A little bit tricky, but there's been a few like that, so that's a minor complaint, but the actual app itself ran very well. I believe I've only ever played and I almost said head-to-head, but I've only ever played it with the one, playing with somebody who was not physically here with me.
Right, online, yep.
Exactly. That's the only way that I've played. Obviously, I cannot play the pass and play version, but I've heard it works really well.
I've played it with it works great. Yeah.
Okay, so this is great. And you may have more insight on this than me, but to give everyone a general idea, I enjoyed the game. And even as someone playing the game, but as a bystander kind of playing the game, I know that sounds really weird. Watch the playthrough, you'll see what I'm talking about. It was still a lot of fun. So I definitely found that the game drew me in just from the way it looked, the way that everything was smooth on the screen. Like, it didn't look like an old application. It definitely looked new and vibrant, which I can appreciate, and easy to read. That was my biggest thing. I like the fact that you can pull up a card a bit closer to get more details and kind of skim through the different types of cards. I like little things like that. It makes it easier for me to be like, oh, I have a poor memory. Oh, what does this person do again? What does that card do again? And you can pull it up and get that information. So Similo for me was really good. I'm sure Suzanne might have more things to add because she has played it a little bit more than I have.
Just that I really, really enjoy it. It's a game that I play the card version. I have the History and the Fables deck in physical form, and I love playing it with my kids. We enjoy it as a group. We played through the app just once and it was fine, but they prefer physical cards, right, to handle, so that's fine. But from a functional point of view, the app worked just great. I'm sad about the digital version because they offer animals and now a Halloween or spooky set that you can't get in physical form. I'm like, no, I want those in cards too. So I'm going to start throwing elbows to say, hey, make these awesome sets and cards so I can have that for home.
Exactly.
And I just think if you like games like Mysterium, check this one out. It's a streamlined version. It really feels like that to me. And I think that's why I enjoy it. It's like in the animals deck, in the app version, you get the cute animal. Well, but all the animals have expressions. So you can play the deck against each other where one deck clues in the other deck, right? And we're playing this game and all of a sudden it's like, well, okay, it's like the rabbit, but you're looking at a series of fairy tale characters.
Right.
Well, is the rabbit cluing in the Queen of Hearts for Alice in Wonderland? Or is the rabbit cluing in this other character because of the big ears? Or wait a minute, the background of the rabbit has this pattern of carrots and orange on it. It's very, very clever. And I don't know how conscientious some of those choices were made from a creative perspective and the characters' expressions, the backgrounds, the colors, but the way it comes together, just the sum is more than the parts for me.
Right.
The spooky set just came out after we had played recently, and now you being the Halloween fan you are, come on, we got to play spooky stuff.
Oh, for sure. See, I like to be the audience, though. So I like to be the person playing with the audience. I think it's hilarious. Some of the rationalizations and the ideas that are happening in the chat, that's what makes that game for me so much.
Well, for me, a little card game has grown into a board game app, and this is Squire for Hire. Who doesn't love a good rhyme, right? Squire for Hire.
Just not a pun.
Not a pun. Rhyming and alliteration, thumbs up.
Okay, we're good then.
Puns, thumbs down. Designed by John Merchant, art by John Merchant, published by Lightman Games. And it goes for $3.99 on iOS and Android. Within the app, there's solo play or pass and play. I will say that the app is straightforward in its feature set, but the features that it has works perfectly. Works really, really well for the game. I mean, remember, this is an 18-card game in real life. Right? And so in Squire for Hire, basically, on the back of a card, you have like a challenge. And then the front of the cards are these grids. It's got this little grid on it, and there are different icons that fill it up. So swords and magic bottles and scrolls and shields and armor. And they fill up different sizes of the grid. So one object may take up 4 squares of the grid. One object may take up just 1 square of the grid, scattered all around. In what looks random, but I suspect there was a lot of thought that went into the placement of these objects because it's diabolical. Because inevitably, when you have to place a card, icons are not where you need them to be. And I get very angry. Not actually. Angry. Because what's going to happen is that like some of the challenges may be, okay, you need to spend a potion. That means that the next card you take has to cover up a potion in a specific way on this growing grid of cards. So yeah, you're putting out these cards, they're overlapping each other. And at the end of the game, you're going to score points based on what you can see in the grid that you've created or tableau that you've created. Each of your squires have different scoring conditions. So depending on the squire that you choose to start the game with, some you're going to be scoring scrolls, some you're going to be scoring junk. There are junk icons, and sometimes you can make that into a good thing. All sorts of different, there's like 4 or 5 different squires, which is worth pointing out because it mixes up the gameplay, which is a really nice thing. I like the gameplay of Squire for Hire in general. I think it's a fun game in general. I think the app takes it to just the next level because within the app, they went ahead and implemented different modes of play that extend its life. So there are quests, which are kind of like individual challenges that you want to complete. And I'm apparently very bad at this game, or the quests are challenging because haven't unlocked all those yet.
Oh, no.
There is the Mystic Runes standalone expansion built into the app. You have to unlock it through gameplay, though. And then along with being able to pick from different squires, you can stack squires. So you play with 2 at a time, which gives you more scoring combinations for you to account for as you're building out this tableau, which complicates the puzzle in a really nice way. If you like these kind of spatial grid puzzles and this idea of using cards as tiles where you're overlapping each other and things like that, Squire for Hire is a really delightful experience. I've been playing it on my phone and the implementation is fine. It's visible. You can zoom in and out to see things more closely too. So that's the other thing I just wanted to mention there, that it plays great on the phone. Squire for Hire.
This is great. This reminded me, it was on my list of ones to download, and I was debating whether to do it on my iPad or on my Android phone. I had just decided, I didn't know if it came in Android, but I think it does now. So long story short, having you talk about it, I'm like, oh yeah. So I just now have added it to my iPad. I like these types of games. So I'm like, this is right up my alley. So I'm looking forward to trying it. So great that you talked about it today.
I hope you enjoy it.
Order up!
And now, it's time to order up a slice of game pie.
All right, it's game pie time. And because of Mandi, Mandi's choice this week is party games. Party on. I don't know why I think of Wayne's World whenever I think of party games. Sorry. You know, party games is an interesting category, and it's an easy one for people really vested in the hobby of board games to kind of hand wave away. Mm-hmm. But I love party games. I love good party games.
There's the key word.
I will also say that I think some games get labeled party games that are not party games.
Oh, for sure.
But that's probably a different episode. But Mandi, I peeked at your list. Except for one of them, I'm down with your list as categorized as parties. So,
my first one, I don't even think it's my first one, I don't even think it's a party game, but I am
it's not
as a party game. I don't care because guess what?
All right,
sorry, that sounded really bad. This is why I'm like, it's a game, and I play it with a party of several people. So,
okay. We're going to go with it. Hey, Mandi, why don't you serve up your first slice of kind of party game pie?
Okay, and to be fair, I've only ever played this game at parties. Maybe that's why. Okay, so the first slice of pie I'm going to serve y'all is Drop It. Yeah, drop it. So whether you agree or not, it's still really fun because you can play it with, 4 people. You can play it with teams, which is that's the way I've played it most often, is with teams of people. And I've played the different variations within the games, So for those who have not played the game, It's kind of tough. You're trying to get there are different pieces, wooden pieces of in the game, squares and rectangles and circles and things like that, and you're trying to drop them down into this structure. I don't know what the technical term is, and it's clear, and depending on where it drops, you can get points or not get points. For example, if it touches a side or a base that's matching the same shape, they'll be like, oh, you can't do that. Or, depending on the variation you're playing with, sometimes it's based on color. Same colors can't touch, same shapes can't touch. Like, there's so many restrictions, but you're trying to get all your pieces in there and garner points by, getting them in the right kind of organization. Anyway, long story short, Drop It for me is so good. I really liked it. I did not think I was going to like this game. I've played it so much, the box is, like, actually starting to show wear. That's how you know I play it a lot, and I like it. So, Drop It.
And don't get me wrong, Mandy. I love Drop It so much as a game. And one of my greatest heart's desires is to somehow steal the giant version that they bring to conventions. They have this mammoth version with, I'm gonna find a way to steal it. It's gonna be tough to steal because it's really, really big.
Oh, for sure.
But party game.
Okay, it was a stretch, but I think it was a good stretch.
All right. Moving on to an actual party game. First slice for me is Time's Up, also known as Monikers. Because guess what, folks? They're the same game. Monikers has what I think is a more elegant, attractive package. Time's Up has different sets, but ultimately it's just about the topics that you get in there, and the gameplay is the same. It is a game in which you are going to have a little deck of cards, and things on those cards could be a whole bunch of different stuff depending on the set that you get. And you are trying to get your team to guess what is on all of those cards. You want to get through as many of them as possible during your time. The first time, and you go through them 3 times. The first time you go through it, you can basically say or do anything you want. You just cannot say what's on the card.
Right.
So if the clue is Total Recall, right? Because Title Recall is one of the sets. But if the movie, Total Recall, you could say Arnold Schwarzenegger, future, time travel, head bomb, whatever. Great. People catch it. The next time you go through, you're going to have the same deck of cards, but this time you can only give one word as the clue. And then the third and final time, there's no talking at all. You can only do like gestures and movement. What's interesting is that you know what they are, right? As you've gone through them the first time, you know by the second round and the third round what they are. But the moments where it becomes clunky or confusing because of the reduction in communication formats, it's amusing. And I've had so many laughs and many, many entertaining games of Time's Up. It is a fabulous, fabulous party game.
This is a fun one. There are a few people that come to mind because this is literally a game they will push playing at every convention, and it is always hilarious. So, yeah, that's definitely a good choice. The next one up on my list is Wits and Wagers. Oh, how I love this game. And I think I have like every version available. I even have like the big Vegas mat. I just really like this game. I love anything with trivia. Now, I will say, a little disappointed that there's no kind of Canadian trivia or some kind of... Sometimes you'll get stuff and I'm like, yeah, you can tell right away. I'm like, yeah, this is American. So there's stuff I won't know, right? Inherently, we won't know. So long story short, Wits and Wagers, you have questions. Everybody's got these little marker boards where you're trying to write the right answer, and then you kind of bet. Once the answers are kind of laid out, you bet where you think is, the correct answer is going to be, and then you get more chips based on, if you're correct. This is a game, I think it plays in like 7 or 8 rounds. It's been so long. But it's one of those games we just play until we get bored of it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So Wits and Wagers for me, it's great. And I definitely recommend getting I have the deluxe version. The chips are nice in that one. And that Vegas mat, magnifique. So check out Wits and Wagers.
Honestly, most trivia games I'm going to struggle with as a party game in many ways.
Sure.
But Wits and Wagers hits the mark because you don't have to know things.
Right, exactly.
You just have to know who knows things.
Right. And trust in their answer.
And bet with them. Next up for me, I love A Fake Artist Goes to New York.
Nice.
This is a small box oink game, and I think it plays at least 6 out of the box. Mm-hmm. And it's a game in which somebody is secretly assigned the role of being the fake artist. And then you are going to pass around a piece of paper. Everybody just draws a line or a mark on it. Collectively, as you go pass around this piece of paper, a full drawing is emerging. Because what's happened is that everybody gets the same thing. Like, Mandi, you could get on your thing, Finding Nemo, Finding Nemo, Finding Nemo, Finding Nemo. Everybody in the circle gets Finding Nemo. But that fake artist got, it's a film. Everybody's drawing little marks. And the trick is that you are trying to make a drawing and make your contributions to this drawing cogent enough so that proven that you're the real artist,
right?
But not giving what it is away, because at the end, after everybody's made a couple of marks, you all vote for who you think the fake artist is, right? Who contributed wrong. And so as a fake artist, you're trying to contribute, but you have no idea what is going on. And you're trying to match up and go with the flow and make it look like you blend in. And it's just silly and goofy. And it doesn't depend on anybody's specific artistic talent. And it plays a huge number of players. And it's just a ton of fun. So that is Fake Artist Goes to New York.
That's a good one. If only play.
I described that really, really badly.
No, I think it was good. And I remember, and how you explained it is how I remember it. I've only ever played it at conventions, and that's probably about the explanation I got, and I remember it. So I think that's pretty good. Next one on my list is a newer one. We played recently, or recently-ish, on a stream, is Herd Mentality. This one is by Big Potato Games, and it's really simple. You literally have some cards, and you read them off, and you want people to have write down an answer on your whiteboard that matches other people's. You don't want to be the odd person out with an answer that nobody else has. Otherwise, you get stuck with is it a pig, a cow? I don't know why I want to say pig. It's not a pig. It's a cow. It's a cow.
It's a cow. It's the pink cow.
Pink cow. I don't know why I want to say.
It's the grumpy pink cow.
So you don't want to be caught with that. At the end of the game, you want to try and get points based on getting answers that everybody else has. And it makes me laugh. I am such a weird player in this game. I think we had, and I mentioned this before, I think when we reviewed it, we have a question like Tom Hanks' best movie or most popular movie. I forget or I think it was best movie. And I think I wrote something like Joe and the Volcano. And I'm like, yeah, no one's writing that at all.
You were way off.
Yeah, I was way off. And
Not part of the herd.
I should have wrote Forrest Gump or something. But anyway, you get the idea. So Herd Mentality is one. It's great to play virtually, especially now. Like, I think it's one that's fantastic. And it's one of those other ones where you just play till you get bored of it. And I think those are fun. Easy peasy. Literally, I just explained the game to in like 30 seconds with a few little things left out. But it's easy for people to catch on. So Herd Mentality, I'm really liking that one.
Easily. I was absolutely delighted with it, for sure, when we got to play, and it's going to stay in my collection. Plus, the box is fuzzy.
Right?
It looks like black and white cow, and it's got, like, fuzzy spots.
It's so good.
Another party game now this one has been in my collection for a long time, and it's not going anywhere. I have the big box edition. I have every copy except the After Dark version. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
Anomia.
Oh, I love this game.
That's because you have good taste,
so good.
Mostly. It's a game, just a deck of cards, and there are symbols and words on these cards. And what's going to happen is you are going to be flipping over these cards in front of you. You can sit in a big circle around a table. And when the card you flip up, as you're taking turns around the circle flipping your cards, when the symbol on your card matches the symbol on a card that somebody's flipped up in front of them, you have to say a word that matches the category on that person's card.
That's so hard.
And they have to say a word that matches the category on your card. So the symbols match, you're both racing to say a word in the category on the other person's card that are completely disconnected from each other. So if on Mandi's card, it says city, and on my card, it says clothing, right? We're both like, Prague, shoe. And anomia is the word for when a word is on the tip of your tongue. And it's such an apt title for this game because that's what happens. You're paying attention to all these symbols. You can get into chaining situations as you go. It's wild. It's energetic. It's not It's a word game that's not vocabulary based, which I really, really like.
Exactly.
It's just hugely entertaining. The one thing about Anomia that I don't care for is that if you get a huge, huge group, it can be hard to see the symbols and read the words on if they're across the table. But the joy is worth any inconvenience around that because it is such a great game.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous this wasn't on my list, but good choice. Actually, you just reminded me. I think someone borrowed my copy of Anomia, and I have yet to see it come back to my house. So looks like I might have to order a full set. Thanks for that. And
Get the big box. It's got 6 different decks in it.
Is that like the party deck or the party box?
Yeah,
or something?
I don't know what it is, but it's huge. Yeah.
Okay, I have to get this. So this will be on the next order. Okay, so I'm gonna say not last, but close to last-ish game that I'm gonna talk about is Just One. Just One is so great. Again, another one that you can play virtually, but it's, one of those games where someone, has a word and everybody else, they don't see it, but everybody else sees it. And you're trying to, I think you get one word that you can write on a little placard that's erasable, but, it's in order to help the person guess what the word is. The problem is if you write a clue that's the same as somebody else's clue, that doesn't get shown to the person. So you've now potentially knocked out some important clues for someone. To guess. And sometimes they're only stuck with 2 words to try and figure out. And sometimes they're so different, right? Because we all have different ways of thinking. So, for example, let's say it was like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something like a lion, right? And someone might say king as their clue, because we get one word, and someone might write mane as another one, right? So it could take you in so many different directions, and you're like, what? Someone looking at that is like, I don't get it. So anyway, I just love the conversation that happens after the answer. Like, what were you thinking? Like, why did you pick that? I had no idea. This answer confused me. And anyway, so Just One is one that is very good.
Absolutely. It would have been on my list, except I saw you wrote it down, so I switched.
Fair enough.
And my final slice of pie for party game pie, Telestrations.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And the beautiful thing about Telestrations is I was playing Telestrations before Telestrations existed. And Telestrations just took a game, kind of a common game that people played with paper and a pencil and folding paper over, and made a really nice dry erase set that you could reuse and actually have some space to draw on everything else. But the heart of Telestration stands where y'all start off with a word or a phrase or something, and you draw it. And then you pass that board, you cover it up. They don't know what the word is. They just see the drawing. The next person just sees the drawing, and then they write what they think you drew. And then you hide the drawing, and then you pass that on, and then the next person draws what you wrote. And then you cover up what that was, and then you just see the drawing, and then they write. And you go through this. It's drawing telephone, right? The game where you whisper in somebody's ear, and it starts off as macaroni. It ends up as I like eating candy in the dark, whatever. It just works. You can play with any number of people as long as you have components. It doesn't dip in energy. It's so fast and easy to teach. It's just a delight. I love Telestrations for any party you go to.
Yeah, it's a good one. Another one that has left my house and has yet to be returned. So
Dang, Mandi, we gotta talk about your friends.
I know, and sometimes what they're doing is they're hoping that I'll just be like, oh yeah, never mind, you can just keep it. I'm like, okay, well I do want to keep some games.
Wow.
I know, I'm that generous. So, funny you talk about Telestrations. Another game that made my list, but I'm just gonna quickly mention it is Pictionary. I know, don't say it. I like it.
Oh,
and
classic.
I have like the nice fancy version. So Pictionary's fun. And Catchphrase. I didn't put on because everyone hears me talk about Catchphrase so often, but this is one that just, I play with my family. We all love it. And my poor brother might have different thoughts on it because we tell him how terrible his answers are. But yeah, Catchphrase is a favorite in my house.
Okay, I didn't know. Normally I feel like I'm the cheater in Game Pie, but this time you are the super cheat in this Game Pie. Honorable mentions and drop it as a party game.
Well, it's pie, but it's like pie rounded.
Oh my good gravy. Oh, for heaven's sake. All right. Pie time over, Mandi.
Yeah,
pie time is over.
Right. I did try.
Hey, if you want to talk to me about how Mandi cheated
What?
in this Game Pie, or if you have Mandi's copy of telestrations and want to talk to me about strategies on how you can safely return it without getting in trouble. Or if you want to suggest a future game pie or ask any questions about games or things that we talk about on the show, you can reach out to us on email. My email is Suzanne@dicetower.com.
And you can reach me at Mandi, that's Mandi with an I, at dicetower.com.
As always, it is a privilege and pleasure to be part of your extended gaming family. I actually got a very nice email from somebody recently and just talked about how being part of the Dice Tower, whether you're a listener or a content creator, and talking about games and having this kind of shared core thing that's about bringing people together is very, very powerful, even when we can't do it in person, especially when we can't do it in person.
Exactly.
And it just really hammered home just how great our hobby is and how lucky I feel that I get to do this. So thank you, everybody out there, for your notes and your comments. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Next episode, 681, Tom and Eric are going to list out their favorite one-hit wonder games.
Ooh, fun.
Do you ever watch that movie where they were like the one-hit wonders and they called themselves the Oneders?
Yeah. I love it. That's exactly what I was thinking when you said that. I'm like, yep.
I was going to call it their one-hit Oneders, but then I didn't think anybody would get it.
Yep, so. I totally got it.
I love you, Mandy. All right, folks. Until next time, I'm Suzanne Sheldon.
And I'm Mandi Hutchinson.
And you've been listening to The Dice Tower.
Do that thing you do. Thanks for listening. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. This podcast is sponsored by listeners like you. Thank you for your continued support. And speaking of support, the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund is an organization dedicated to helping gamers in need. Learn more about the fund's mission and how you can help at jackvassell.org. The Dice Tower is produced by Tom, Suzanne, Mandi, and Eric with assistance from Roy Canaday and Rob Searing. Our theme is composed by Timothy Pinkham and arranged by Matt Bellier. Let us know what you think of the show by posting to the Dice Tower Guild at BoardGameGeek.com, following the Dice Tower on Twitter, or by emailing us at podcast@dicetower.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all the gang at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming. All right, everyone, it's that time again. 2 truths and a lie. So I'm going to go first, talking about what I mentioned last episode. So my streaming room has LED lights on the walls. My room has butterflies on the walls. And my streaming room has a Hello Kitty theme. If you picked that my streaming room has a Hello Kitty theme as a lie, you would be correct. I know, hard to believe, and I did have a small obsession with Hello Kitty. None in the streaming room, however.
But you do have Matlock.
I know, right? And it's peeking out here. All the episodes, Matlock. That's right. I love some Matlock.
Last episode, I said I love the Professor Layton games, I love the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney games, and I love the Room series games. The lie was that I love the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney games. I've never played one.
Oh.
I've only ever seen the memes.
See, something to add to your list now. All right, up for this week, I have a theme going, started with the horse game, now I'm going to continue with horses. So here we go. I liked Black Stallion, I liked Seabiscuit, and I liked Black Beauty. Ooh, there's a toughie for everyone.
Yay! And for me this episode, I'm allergic to bee stings, I'm allergic to grass, and I'm allergic to pollen.
There you go, everyone. Good luck.